Have you ever heard of José Enríquez Negreira? If you have, I don't think you've heard enough. So today we are covering the Negreira case that involves FC Barcelona, some of their presidents, and some other people that were involved as well. Don't worry guys, it would all make sense. You are now kicking it with Cahoots and I am here to go over that. And I also want to share the Real Madrid perspective on things and what they've done. And how has the Spanish Federation, La Liga, and the referee committee helped in any way in solving the situation. Okay? So, make yourself a coffee. This one might be a long one, so let's get to it right away. Let's go. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to a new video on the channel. Like I said, we have a lot to cover, so let's get started. But before we do, I would like to ask you for a like, a subscription, maybe some comments. If you like the content, I would really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Now that we're gonna get started, I wanna tell you that I need to give you a little introduction about what we're talking about, right? So back in February 15 of 2023, the Spanish media outlet Ser Catalunya published a report revealing FC Barcelona having paid 7.5 million euros to José María Enríquez Negreira, the former vice president of the Spanish Referee Committee, the CTA, and the years were from 2001 to 2018. Revelations triggered a judicial investigation possible corruption in sports, leading to formal accusations against FC Barcelona, former club presidents, and Negreira himself. Along with Negreira, we have his son, and we also have indirectly the wife, and there are other personalities or other people that we need to cover as well, okay? And since it's a lot of information, I am going to follow a Twitter account or an X account called Pepe Collins, and he has done an amazing job in summarizing it. So he made a thread on Twitter or X, and that's the one that we're going to be following today, just to cover the facts and what we know that has happened chronologically, okay? So I'm just going to go into the details of the things that we actually do know, okay? Verified payments of 8.5 million to the vice president of the CTA, the referee committee. Payments stopped the day he leaves office 17 years later. Negreira himself confesses during the first interrogations that the payments were to guarantee the neutrality of the competition. What else do we know? We also know that when they break up with Negreira, they meaning Barcelona, he sends a fax threatening to reveal everything. After a year, Negreira sends another fax suggesting to recover the relationship with Barcelona since he can help with the VAR, all right? Also, Negreira said that he only talked with the presidents and that there are no reports. Something that Laporta, during a conference to explain the payments, brought a box. That box of information belonged to the son of José Enríquez Negreira. We'll get into that in a little bit. What else do we know? We also know that it has been proven that the club was lying when it said that they paid for reports. There is not a single document related to those payments. Barça paid a fine of 1.5 million euros to the treasury for lacking any report and signed a compliance report where it acknowledged its non-existence. Okay? A lot of contradictions here coming from what Barcelona reported to the public and what actually is happening in court. Javier Enríquez reports are not related to the payments to the father, José María Enríquez Negreira. Guys, I know this is confusing, but Javier Enríquez is the son of José María Enríquez Negreira. So I'm just going to call Javier Enríquez Jr., okay? So Junior reports are not related to the payments to the father, José María Enríquez Negreira, and were collected separately. Junior claims that the value of his reports were about 20 euros. The overpayment, he believes, could be to justify the payments to his father. You see where this is going, right? What else do we know? No first-team coach has admitted knowing about the existence of these reports, except for Gerard Lopez during his time as a coach of Barça Athletic. I'm assuming it's a different department, not sure. Also, Ricardo Segura is currently in charge of making these reports at Barça. He earns 25,000 euros. To put it in context, Negreira earned more than 500,000 for them. This is all proven. All right, what else do we have here? The judge has scolded the club for not providing documentary evidence to support the payments, despite the fact that they continue to publicly support their theory. The club's intention to conceal payments has been confirmed through third parties and without the knowledge of the Treasury or the compliance. This is the game. This is the game. It's just a lot of unknowns. So they're trying to get this case dismissed. The payments to Negreira began in the 1990s, according to Gaspart, a former Barcelona president, and Laporta himself, and increased during the different presidential terms, up to 5 different presidents, from which the investigating judge comes to the conclusion that the service provided was satisfactory. Okay? Obviously, if you're making the payments, it's because something is working. The report of the civil guard and the conclusions of the investigating judge point to a systematic corruption that affected the CTA and that was intended to influence the arbitrations. No referee was bought. It was worse. The system was bought. Okay? So when somebody comes up to you like this character,
it's finally been confirmed, and that is Barcelona are innocent in the Negreira case, meaning we were not paying the referees. That's right, because as you can see right up there, it's confirmed. FC Barcelona were found not guilty for the charges of money laundering and bribery. The issue of sports corruption remains, but it is also expected to be resolved soon. And FC Barcelona themselves released an official statement, and here it is below me. FC Barcelona hereby wishes to express its utter satisfaction with the sense of resolution issued today by the Barcelona court insofar as it confirms the defense presented by the club and rejects the hypotheses of the alleged crime of bribery. We maintain our conviction that justice will prevail and the events pertaining to this indictment can be definitively clarified, therefore demonstrating the club's absolute innocence. The whole world was against us. The mainstream media, our rival clubs we don't even care about, they were all preying on our downfall, and it's finally been confirmed. Barcelona are innocent in the Negreira case. If I'm Barcelona right now, I'm suing journalists, mainstream media for defamation, because the amount of lies they spread throughout the whole world, making people believe we actually paid the referees, is crazy.
and tells you that, oh, the Negreira case has been dismissed because there is no proof of bribery. Yes, there is no proof of bribery, but systematic corruption is still pretty much intact. So what the judge said is you can't have systematic corruption and bribery at the same time. So bribery was dismissed and they're focusing on the bigger problem, which is systematic corruption. The investigation confirms that Negreira did indeed have the capacity to influence the decisions that most affected the referee's income. Promotions, relegations, international appearances, both due to the so-called correction index and due to the influence over the president Sanchez Arminio. So if Negreira was the vice president, Sanchez Arminio was, no relation to Armenians, Sanchez Arminio was the president. And there were 3 vice presidents. In this case, we're talking about Enríquez Negreira, okay? And this index correction, or correction index, what it means is índice corrector, what basically translates to correctional index. It's basically a report after any referee has a performance. They're basically grading the performance to see where he can improve or not. That's what this correctional index is. It has been found that Negreira had an influence in the appointment or designation of these judges of the referees that would write the reports after the matches, but also in the final scores which were made by the corrective index, the corrective index that was also known within the referees as the corrupted index. So they had a nickname for it. What they were trying to say is that these reports that were coming out was essentially corrupted because they knew how they wanted you to ref. This will all make sense to you very shortly once we're done with this part. Okay? The corrective index, also known as the corruptive index, was decided by a commission formed by Sanchez Arminio, who was the president of the referees, and the two vice presidents, one being José Enríquez Negreira. There are minutes of this commission signed by the three. Their scores could radically change the classification of the members. It has also been found that Negreira was in charge of informing the referees from time to time, in person or by phone, of the positions in the classification of if they were doing well or if they were doing poorly, if they were doing bad or if they were doing well. The testimony of the referees' question reflects that they were aware of the arbitrary and scoring system and of the importance that Negreira had in it, as well as the influence he had on the president himself, Sanchez Arminio. Just as the members of the board claim to have been independent, otherwise they will be committing a crime, almost all of them admitted that the pressure exerted on them was palpable, a mechanism that was admitted during questioning by Iturralde González himself, a very anti-Madridista referee, this Iturralde González person. Beyond Negreira's telephone evaluations on whether they were on the right track or if they were performing poorly on the referees were guarded by his son in many matches played at the Camp Nou. In Barcelona, they almost had met with Negreira himself before and after the matches. In a document found in Operation Soleil at the home of the director Contreras, payments to Junior were of 50,000 euros per year, and 10,000 more were stipulated with justifications. Things like see the car, depending on the referee or not, car issues, airport or hotel. So basically little memos or little notes referring to what the payments were going for. Judge Aguirre, in his latest ruling, details the existence of systematic corruption in the refereeing and payments for FC Barcelona to adulterate the competition. The report from the civil guards is about 162 pages long, and it concludes there is a fraudulent intention of obtaining benefits not justified on behalf of FC Barcelona. So they are saying that something does exist. There's a fraudulent system here that does exist and is not being justified with the paperwork and information that they have coming from FC Barcelona. Coming to make you understand that things were happening, that they were getting the results that they wanted. Javier Enriquez's postgraduate work, which deals with a reform of the CTA, the referee committee, the functioning of said organization is detailed as an opaque structure whose leaders pressure their subordinates, and these are affected by this influence. Former director Tony Freixa told COPE, Negreira used to sell us this product as, don't worry, with me, I'll make you some reports, I'll show you how it works, and you'll do better because of me. So one president after another, they didn't dare to remove him because they thought things would get worse for us. This is something that Tony Freixa said. I actually have it on one of my Instagram things. I'm going to add some little clips at the end of my video so you guys can see what we're talking about here. Okay. Sique Rodriguez, a journalist who uncovered the case, said, we spoke to all the protagonists. The general feeling was, what are we going to do? It was something from years ago. Madrid rules in Madrid, and we had to compensate for it. And then he claims that he cried for this feeling of what the hell have we done? I don't believe him for 1 minute, and you'll learn later on who this character is. Jaime Rodes, you already know who he is. In an interview in the program of Que Tu Juegues of Cadena Ser, said The only reason that they paid Negreira was to pressure and to influence in the results. This is not in debate. He said this. Adria Soldevila, in a talk at the College of Journalists, confessed that Bartomeu told him. Bartomeu was president of Barcelona back in those days. He basically said, when Enríquez Negreira stopped being paid, Barça didn't win any leagues. What happened there? Maybe we were wrong. We were in the wrong to stop the payments. Javier Tebas, president of La Liga, acknowledged on 3 different occasions that if the facts had been detected without the statute of limitations having expired, FC Barcelona would have been administratively relegated. FC Barcelona would have been administratively relegated. It also seems clear, or at least suspicious, that Albert Soler was appointed to the command of the CSD, the Higher Sports Council in Spain, just in the months that were left for the case to expire. Soler had already been questioned by the police and did not report back as was his duty. The case expired and then he left the CSD. So that guy was just literally planted there to change some rules in the government, so this crime couldn't be punished. A few weeks after Villar, who was the president of the Spanish Federation, Arminio, who was the president of the referee committee, and Negreira, who was the vice president, left the Spanish Federation, La Liga, the CTA signed an anti-Negreira pact, basically committing to not allowing payments from clubs for any reason to people with responsibilities in the Spanish Football Federation. Did they know this? Everything indicates that they did. But beyond the indications that point to the fact that the case was prescribed, or basically the statute of limitations, to avoid the relegation of FC Barcelona, there was another way to open for it. The ethical code of the Spanish Federation that contemplated the crime of sports corruption and the sanction of relegation. So there was still a chance for them to get relegated and punished for their crimes. But in August of 2021, Luis Rubiales, who was the president of the Spanish Federation at that time, unexpectedly and quickly ordered a vote to annul all sanctions from the Spanish Federation Code of Ethics. No justification was given. FC Barcelona could no longer be sanctioned in sporting manner in Spain. There's a few other things that I kind of want to touch up on. Okay, so we've had 3 judges that have judged this case. Judge Silvia Lopez Mejia initially accepted the complaints filed by the referee Javier Estrada Fernandez and the public prosecutor's office in March of 2023, initiating the judicial investigation. This judge's house got broken into and things were stolen. We are not sure if things were stolen that were regarding this case. Okay. Also, there was a conflict of interest as her husband creates billboards for FC Barcelona. I'm not sure if that had anything to do with her dismissal of this, but then came Judge Joaquin Aguirre, who has been the one that's been on this the longest. He took over the case following Judge Lopez Mejia's exit in September of 2024. He also extended the investigation phase by an additional 6 months, but Judge Aguirre retired back in January of 2025, so earlier this year, and the case is still unresolved. But now we have Judge Alejandra Gil assume responsibility for the case after Judge Aguirre's retirement. And she's the present judge for this case. So what do they mean by systematic corruption? Well, it doesn't mean that you were putting money in an envelope and giving it to the referees. It meant that you were controlling the system. But to explain the systemic corruption that happened with the Negreira case, I'm going to have Iñaki Angulo explain that to you right now. Check it out.
Si es que, obviamente, seguro que esto se lo explicas a los árbitros por si no lo entienden. Pero simplemente con los hechos, un árbitro ya va a saber cómo te puede ir mejor o cómo te puede ir un poquito peor. ¿Cuáles son los hechos? Los árbitros que suben, los árbitros que descienden, los árbitros que tienen mejores partidos, porque hay un extra por partido, los árbitros que van al Mundial, los árbitros tal. Y eso es una decisión arbitraria, absolutamente arbitraria, de una persona o dos personas, que son las que deciden qué árbitros hacen mejor carreras. Muy sencillo, o sea, si tú vas invitado a un evento de Coca-Cola, pues no puedes decir que la Pepsi es mejor. Son cosas muy sencillas que no te las tienen que decir, como digo. 2004, Tristante Oliva concede un penalti discutido a Raúl. Fue eyectado del sistema al terminar la temporada. El año siguiente era delegado de campo del Murcia. Servía así de ejemplo y de amenaza para el resto de árbitros. 2005, Mejuto pita un penalti fuera del área a Eto'o frente al Atlético. Ese mismo año es designado para pitar en el Mundial. 2006. Dauden Ibáñez anula un gol legal de Perea contra el Atlético frente al Real Madrid en la jornada 24. Error que beneficia al Real Madrid. Las consecuencias: Negreira sancionado por el comité de árbitros. En las siguientes 14 jornadas dirigió solo un árbitro, un partido. Un partido en 14 jornadas, ¿eh? O sea, acojonante. Dauden, entonces el colegiado internacional con más experiencia en la Liga, no volvió a dirigir encuentros de postín durante sus últimas 3 temporadas como árbitro profesional. 2007. El árbitro Rodríguez Santiago concede a Messi un gol con la mano el día del tamudazo. Gol que valía la Liga antes de que marcara Tamudo. Efectivamente, ese gol le hubiera dado la Liga al Barça. Al día siguiente, el colegiado es designado para pitar la final de Copa. O sea, ¿veis cómo el sistema era muy sencillo? Controlar todo esto sin igual tener ni que decírselo, que obviamente se lo diría. Bueno, pues Rodríguez Santiago, la final de la Copa del Rey, después de que un error suyo muy claro, que podía pasar, era época pre-VAR, o sea, tampoco hay que matar a los árbitros, pero, chico, que te premien con esto es que es acojonante. Ese mismo año, Rodríguez Santiago concedió un gol del Español frente al Real Madrid, pese a haber pitado falta unos segundos antes. No hubo sanción para el colegiado. Seguimos, 2008. Álvarez Izquierdo dejó impune un penalti de Pepe a Llorente. Fue sancionado un mes por el CTA. Álvarez Izquierdo sigue en la nevera arbitral. 2008. Clos Gómez anula 3 goles legales al Real Madrid y expulsa injustamente a Van Nistelrooy en un partido contra el Atlético. No es sancionado, sino premiado. 3 meses más tarde es promocionado internacional y nombrado mejor árbitro de primera por el CTA. Clos Gómez, que creo que ahora mismo es el jefe del VAR. 2009. Pérez Burrul no pitó un penalti a favor de los Osasuna frente al Real Madrid. Fue sancionado varios partidos sin arbitrar. Pérez Burrul a la nevera. 2009. Teixeira saca una segunda tarjeta amarilla a Busquets, pero decide no expulsarle y manipuló el acta. No fue sancionado, sino todo lo contrario. Fue premiado con pitar la siguiente Supercopa de España. Canal Plus demuestra que Teixeira sacó la segunda tarjeta a Busquets y no le echó. Acojonante, el día que no echaron a Busquets contra el Villarreal. 2010, es que es acojonante, de verdad que yo conocía estos datos, pero es que es para flipar. Y hay un patrón, de nuevo hay un patrón. Esto no son pruebas de nada, son de nuevo indicios. Indicios que cruzamos con lo de Negreira, especialmente de Negreira, que cruzamos con lo de lo otro y lo de la moto, y dices, chico, algo huele a podrido a Dinamarca. El mismo Teixeira permite al Barcelona debutar el partido con más de 50 minutos de retraso cuando el reglamento lo considera incomparecencia. El Barça gana la Liga por 4 puntos. El colegiado es premiado para arbitrar el siguiente clásico en la Copa del Rey. 2011. En el mencionado clásico de Copa del Rey. Esto fue absolutamente exagerado. Absolutamente exagerado el robo que pegan al Real Madrid. Teixeira anula un gol a Ramos, no pita hasta 3 penaltis a favor y expulsa al defensa blanco. Cometió hasta 10 errores, sin consecuencias. 2011. Clos Gómez comete 13 errores frente al Real Madrid. No es designado por el CTA. Será designado para pitar derbis, clásicos, Supercopa y finales de Copa. 2012. Godal, bueno, ya lo vimos el otro día, reconoce los favores. 2013. Muñiz es duramente criticado en televisión por Sánchez Armini, vicepresidente del comité de árbitros, por pitar un penalti dudoso a favor del Madrid. O sea, es que este es el claro ejemplo de lo podrido que está todo esto. ¿Habéis escuchado alguna vez más al vicepresidente, al Sánchez Arminio hablar de algo? Quizás Muñiz no estaba en el momento propicio para arbitrar. O sea, y se lo cargan, descendido de categoría. descendido de categoría. Hay un patrón clarísimo.
So we're seeing the trend, the patterns that there were, as Iñaki Angulo explained, we're seeing a pattern. We're seeing when refs are actually being sanctioned and punished, and when they're going when they're going unpunished. Another thing that it's worth mentioning is towards the end of that thread, we go into the governing bodies above the Spanish Federation, right? So we have the higher sports council, and within them, and in the Spanish Federation, we also have the code of ethics. So I want to go. So if something were to happen like this, normally the higher sports council, superior governing bodies have rules and laws that they enforce on sporting federations and organizations like leagues or whatever. So everyone has a protocol to follow, and then somebody has to make sure that they're being implemented. Well, with what I've just said, we would think that there will be, some sort of regulation on this, but there isn't. And that's what the last part of the thread was discussing, and that's what I want to go over with you. I know it's a lot of information, but while we're at it, I figure we'll knock it out, right? So we're going to talk about the higher sports council and the code and the change of code of ethics that happened. Had the Spanish Football Federation not repealed the code of ethics approved by the federation, had they not changed the rules that they made in 2015, in 2021, the Negreira Barça affair would not have gone under the statute of limitations and have expired basically to be able to denounce. The Catalan team could have been sanctioned with relegation or even the loss of several titles. Just to draw a little picture in your head, we have the higher sports council, we have the Spanish Football Federation, and within the Spanish Football Federation we have La Liga, which is where Barcelona is as a club, okay? So the order is higher sports council, maybe right here Spanish Football Federation. Under the Spanish Football Federation, kind of next to it, we have La Liga, and we have all the clubs that work under La Liga, all right? In January of 2015, the Spanish Football Federation Code of Ethics establishes sanctions in cases of corruption and the imprescriptibility of corruption crimes. Basically, being able to sanction teams after a certain amount of years if the crime is big enough. July 2019, the Treasury opens investigations into corporate tax of FC Barcelona. They're opening an investigation on how they did their taxes, okay? Next month, the tax agency informs the club of the inspection and requests invoices from the companies of Enríquez Negreira. So yeah, back in 2021, the tax agency informs the club of the inspection and requests invoices from the companies of Enríquez Negreira and Josep Contreras. March 2021, Joan Laporta is elected president of Barcelona. Shortly after, he joins the Spanish Football Federation Board of Directors. Okay, here we go. So we have the president of FC Barcelona having a vote and a voice in the Board of Directors of the Spanish Football Federation. To be fair, it's not just him. There's the president of Athletic de Bilbao. There's other clubs involved in there that have a voice. And if I'm not mistaken, at one point Real Madrid did, but they would never go to these meetings. I'm not sure if it was out of respect and following some sort of ethical rule that they have, or just simply they knew that they were going to be overpowered by the connection that the other board of the directors had. I haven't learned anything about it, but I do know that at some point when Rubiales was the president of the Spanish Football Federation, that Real Madrid did have a title on the board of directors. They, again, never assisted any meetings or any board meetings. June 2021, the Spanish Football Federation modifies its code of ethics and eliminates sanctions for corruption. So as we can see in the first one, in this first picture, in 2019, we can see that the sanction, I know it's in Spanish, guys, but this is the official document that we have at hand, so it's going to be in Spanish. But you can see in this little red rectangle that it says Título 2 de las sanciones, and then it has a bunch of rules underneath it. And as we can see in 2021, that is no longer there. April 2022, the Treasury submits the Negreira case to the prosecutor's office. March 2023, the public prosecutor's office files a complaint against Barcelona, Bartomeu, and Rosell for payments made to the vice president of referees. The complaint is also directed against Negreira himself and the club's former directors, Oscar Grau and Albert Soler. Albert Soler, we're going to talk about very shortly. This was mentioned in the thread earlier before too. The Spanish Football Federation cannot impose sporting sanctions on FC Barcelona. Let's do a quick, conclusion or summary of what we've read so far. If the Spanish Football Federation had not repealed the Code of Ethics, which was strengthened in 2019, but then weakened back in 2021, the 2015 Code of Ethics could now be applied to the Negreira Barça affair. Of course, the sanctions of the ethical code were withdrawn with just 3 months after the Treasury informed Barcelona of the investigation, and the president of FC Barcelona, Joan Laporta, joined the board of directors of the federation. Right, so you have Joan Laporta joining the Spanish Football Federation in the board of directors. You have a rule that's a law that they, in the Code of Ethics that started in 2015. And then it was reinforced in 2019, but then weakened in May of 2021. Then you really can't bring this up to the table because it would have expired based on the statute of limitations that the rules apply to, that the law applies to. But there's more. So we saw the Code of Ethics changing and being reinforced and then being weakened through the Code of Ethics. The Higher Sports Council has a little bit to do with that as well. So let's go back to July of 2019. The tax agency begins to investigate the corporate tax of FC Barcelona. In February of 2021, the Treasury informs the club, FC Barcelona, of the inspection and request invoices from the companies of Enríquez Negreira and Josep Contreras. We went over this already. March of 2021, Albert Soler, a director of the Barcelona club since 2014, leaves Barcelona. Albert Soler is this character right here. He was part of the board of directors with FC Barcelona since 2014, and now he has left, only to go to the Higher Sports Council. So in May of 2021, Albert Soler, who was a former Barça director of professional sports and institutional relations, is appointed general director of the Higher Sports Council by the Council of Ministers, or the Ministers' Council. December of 2021, the Ministers' Council approves the draft of the new sports law, which basically has deadlines extended for minor and serious cases, but not for very serious cases. So they implemented the time period where a minor or serious case can be sanctioned, but not for very serious ones. It doesn't make sense. If you're gonna be hard on mild and harsh on mild and serious cases, then the logic would say that even for big cases, for big serious crimes, you would have to extend that period. But for some reason they didn't. September of 2022, the Higher Sports Council General Manager Albert Soler is questioned by the police and admits his relationship with Negreira and his knowledge of the payments made by the Catalan club. The former Barça director Albert Soler testifies on September 21 of 2022 and covers up the investigation despite it being his governmental responsibility. He did not report that he was being investigated and that he was aware of payments made, of the crime that was being committed by Barcelona. That was not reported to the Higher Sports Council when he had the chance to, okay? And look at this. In January of 2023, Albert Soler leaves his position as General Director of the Higher Sports Council. This guy came to the room, wreaked havoc, and then bounced. He just changed the rules at the right time. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. March of 2023, the Public Prosecutor's Office files a complaint against Barcelona, Bartomeu, Rosell, for payments made to the Vice President of Referees. The complaint is also directed against Negreira himself and the former club's directors, Oscar Grau and Albert Soler. FC Barcelona avoids any sporting consequences because the case has expired or the statute of limitations has reached its expired date. So, in conclusion, just a few weeks after Barcelona learned that the Treasury was investigating the invoices of the vice president of referees, Albert Soler left Barcelona and took steps to return to the higher sports council. The former director of the club was instrumental in maintaining the statute of limitations for very serious cases of corruption while extending it for serious and less serious cases. In the new sports law of the Spanish Football Federation Code of Ethics, strings have been pulled in favor of Barcelona to save the club that paid the vice president of referees for at least 17 years. And just like that, nothing can be done. Even if the judge rules things a certain way, La Liga and the Spanish Football Federation cannot implicate any sanctions on FC Barcelona. But my understanding is that UEFA can. So for very serious cases, the statute of limitations is smaller, 3 years, and after that it expires. But for serious and less serious cases, it's extended a lot longer. Look, guys, basically they cannot afford for Barcelona to go down a second division and to have this type of scandals, because really the competition suffers a lot, and the ratings and the marketing, the sponsors, they all go away. So they have to hide all of these crimes so they can make the best out of the product that they have, which in my opinion is still pretty shitty. So, in conclusion, guys, learning a little more about the Negreira case, learning how the media covers it, knowing the pressure that Negreira also applied not only on the referees' salaries, but also with the pressure of the son having coaching lessons. Also with the fact that the junior would drive the referees that were going to be judging or reffing Barcelona matches, picking them up from the airport, taking them to the hotel, from the hotel to a bar at night to have dinner or karaoke, from them taking them back to the hotel, only for the next day to pick them up and take them to the stadium to ref a match. You already felt the pressure. Don't forget about the different patterns that we saw as the referees would get punished or rewarded before that we mentioned. Also, take a look at this chart and look at the result of those years that happened during the Negreira years. This chart shows you the red card difference between each club in favor and against. In favor, it's going up. Against, it's going down. In La Liga, the Super Cup and Copa del Rey, okay, all domestic leagues all domestic tournaments and league that happens in Spain. Look who's at the bottom and look who's on top. So when you see a Real Madrid fan or somebody actually complaining about these things, they're not that far off what they're saying, and I think it's pretty understandable and justifiable to have these things. Don't forget that the referees that got coached under Junior and Negreira, they are still reffing, even if they're being investigated. Even after all we know, they are still reffing week in, week out. A lot of them are. And it's just such a coincidence that it's always the same 6 to 10 referees that are always reffing Real Madrid. So when you hear a Madrid fan complain, don't just call him delusional. No, there's every single reason for Real Madrid fans to be complaining, for the club to be complaining, and for anybody to want to change. And this is not just for Real Madrid. A lot of clubs have been harmed by this. There's teams that have been relegated for favoring or helping the club that was paying the vice president or referees throughout more than 17 years. They're saying 17 years now, but don't forget that, like we said, Laporta and Gaspart have said that those payments were there since the Núñez years. Núñez, dude, we're talking about 90s. I'm also going to leave this anecdote that one of the reporters from Barcelona shared that he had with somebody that was very much connected to the committee of referees. And that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much. Please don't forget to hit a like, leave a comment, subscribe, whatever you need to do to keep in touch with me. We'll see you on the next one. A la Madrid.
Mira, yo ahora os voy a
Un buen
contar una
tramposo.
historia.
Mira,
Os voy a contar una
sí.
historia. A mí me contó una persona muy vinculada con el estamento arbitral que la primera vez que conoció a Núñez como presidente del Barça, Núñez le expresó su deseo oculto de querer comprar algún día un árbitro. Hasta que resultó que se encontraron con un árbitro con problemas económicos para pagar las letras de su piso. Y el Barça, a través de la empresa Núñez y Navarro, negoció con el banco del árbitro las letras que se tenían que descontar del piso y se las iba pagando poco a poco en función de los partidos que le dirigía al Barcelona, y el Barça salía ganando.
Lo acepto, lo admito, seguiré teniendo madridistas toda mi vida, porque yo todo lo que sea intentar perjudicar deportivamente a Madrid lo voy a hacer hasta que me muera.
¿Usted se atreve a contarme por qué se fue Velasco Carballo?
No lo sé. Tengo que explicarlo. Yo tengo una impresión, pero no puedo lanzarla públicamente porque no sé, no tengo comprobación para ello. No tengo.
Fue raro.
Pero es extraño que ocurra en el mes de octubre, que la temporada ha empezado, que... No...
Que la gente, yo lo que puedo decir que Velasco era un tipo muy serio, muy trabajador y muy conocedor de su profesión. Y a mí me extraña más un tipo muy organizado. Y a mí me extraña que Velasco, si tiene la intención de irse, lo normal es que se vaya cuando termine la temporada y deja al nuevo presidente del comité técnico trabajar y prepararlo todo. Irse en octubre, noviembre. Muy raro. ¿Qué pasó en aquella fecha, en octubre, noviembre? Mira la hemeroteca, mira a ver qué es lo que pasó.
Pues empezaba, si no me equivoco, Hacienda estaba empezando a pedir documentación a la Federación sobre el caso Negreira.
Puede ser. Puede ser, no lo sé.
Y Velasco...
Yo te creo a ti, Juan, no lo olvides.
Y Velasco se fue.
Bien recuerdo las épocas en las que empezamos juntos. Coincidió el inicio de la etapa de Laporta con unas elecciones a la Federación Española. Recuerdo que en su día pues Joan Laporta lo tuvo clarísimo. ¿Qué candidato apoya a Florentino? A Gerardo González. Pues entonces yo creo que al Barça le conviene apoyar a Villar. Apoyó a Villar, rompió incluso la disciplina de voto corporativo de la Liga de Fútbol Profesional, y yo creo que pasamos una época de buena relación con la Federación Española, de buena relación con las entidades donde se cuece, digamos, los comités de árbitros, la competición, la Liga de Fútbol. Creo que Laporta cultivó mucho y muy a fondo las buenas relaciones con estas instituciones, también a nivel internacional, UEFA, ECA, etcétera, FIFA. Y creo que eso nos ayudó.
¿El deportivo, por ejemplo?
A nivel deportivo.
¿O por ejemplo?
Bueno, pues lo que hablamos, cuestiones como el saldo arbitral, si hablamos de diferencia entre lances favorables y desfavorables y en comparación con los rivales.
Llamarte rata, yo creo que es aumentar un poco la calidad de lo que eres, porque yo creo que no llegas ni a hámster. Ni a ratoncillo pequeño. Eres un personajillo que posiblemente no ha alcanzado sus metas deportivas y con esto estás dando muestras de por qué. Tú, el que lo has hecho, eres, pues nada, la cosa más insignificante que posiblemente haya pasado por el arbitraje español. Simplemente quieres destacar y ganarte a lo mejor el beneplácito de cierta prensa que en el momento que se te acabe el chollo ya verás lo que te lo van a agradecer. En algún momento vas a meter la pata, y aunque sea lo último que haga en el CTA, te voy a echar, y te voy a echar con todo el deshonor y toda la mala leche que tengo, que sabéis que algunas veces es mucha. No ahora no pienso gastar un átimo de adrenalina, pero ándate con ojo. Y sabéis que yo no digo nada de manera gratuita. Si metes la pata o te cogemos, vas a la puñetera calle deshonrado. Ya te lo digo, vas a ir deshonrado, porque eres la deshonra del arbitraje español, de la historia del arbitraje español. Siempre ha habido algún pobrecito que filtraba cosas que luego ha terminado en estos programillas de la noche. Pídele a Dios que no te coja, ¿vale?
Ocurrió hace años. Faltaban algo más de 3 horas para que el FC Barcelona se jugase la Liga en el Camp Nou. Enfrente, un equipo del norte de España. Si ganaba, el Barça dejaba casi encarrilada la Liga. Y si perdía, se apretaba la competición.
Soy Javier, ¿cómo estás? ¿Nervioso? Nada, tú tranquilo, eres un fenómeno. Oye, os paso a recoger por vuestro hotel y os llevo al estadio. Hace tiempo que no nos vemos. ¿Dónde te hospedas?
Al rato, Javier Enríquez, hijo de José María Enríquez Negreira, se plantó en el hall del hotel. Enríquez subió a los 4 colegiados a un coche y los llevó hasta el Camp Nou.
Ya sabéis, aquí tranquilos. El Barcelona se juega mucho y no os puede temblar el pulso. Vosotros vais sobrados. Sabéis perfectamente lo que tenéis que hacer.
Enríquez y el cuerpo arbitral accedieron juntos al estadio y mientras los colegiados se marchaban a su vestuario, este se quedó saludando a varios empleados del club. Y es que era de sobra conocido.
¿Los acompañamientos del hijo de Enríquez Negreira? Claro que lo recuerdo. Lo he vivido en primera persona, en un partido Barcelona Atlético de Madrid, en marzo de 1994. Nos recogió el hijo en el aeropuerto y nos llevó al hotel. Luego nos llevó a comer a un bar normal, un bar como puede haber al lado de tu casa o la mía, y estaba ahí Enríquez Negreira y un amigo, hasta que volvimos. Recuerdo que nos hicimos una foto, insistía en hacernos una foto para tenerla y recordar el momento. Ahora lo relaciono con todo lo que está ocurriendo porque posiblemente él quería tener soporte documental acreditativo de que había hablado con nosotros. Ese chico, si nos recogía cuando arbitrábamos al Barcelona, pero cuando pitábamos al Español no nos recogía.
¿Tienes miedo a los árbitros de verdad este año, Freisa?
Siempre. Miedo a los árbitros. Siempre. Pero es que esa es una... Pero
incluso cuando pagabas.
Pero sí, exacto. Muy bien, Lama. O sea, estás,
es verdad.
Me alegra mucho que digas eso porque en el fondo estás explicando por qué eso llegó a suceder, cosa que no tenía que haber sucedido nunca.
Lo más importante es reconocerlo en la vida.
No, pero es que es así. O sea, es que el Barça nos hemos sentido siempre maltratados, siempre menospreciados o siempre con menos trato de favor o soportando el trato de favor que tiene el club, que lo tiene, porque es evidente, porque todo el fútbol español lo sabe. Entonces, ante esa situación se han podido cometer muchos errores, sí. Errores que un listillo te estaba vendiendo que un servicio de lobby, ¿no? No te preocupes que conmigo... y tal, yo te haré unos informes, te enseñaré cómo funciona todo esto y te va a ir mejor. Y al final, pues un presidente tras otro, pues no se atrevía a quitar eso porque pensaba que aún nos iba a ir peor.
Vale, como no se atrevía, le cuadruplicaba el sueldo. Porque
bueno, pero
no atreverse y cuadruplicarle el sueldo hay un pequeño margen, no muy grande.
Bueno, pues ahí es igual, circunstancias, las que fueran, que tampoco te se
subió la vida.
El Barcelona prescinde de él y Negreira, como 4 o 5 meses después, vaya a la federación y pide reunirse con el presidente, lo atiendo yo. Negreira me dice que él ha estado 30 años o no sé cuántos como vicepresidente del Comité Técnico de Árbitros, que él no ha tenido un sueldo fijo y que aquí todo el mundo cobra menos él. Y me exige que a él y a su hijo le den una compensación económica o un trabajo, que si no nos va a llevar a los tribunales. Yo le digo, usted ha ocupado un cargo de representación que sin sueldo, sí. Usted ha cobrado las dietas, los viajes, los desplazamientos, se le han pagado las comidas y tal. Sí, digo, pues entonces usted no tiene que reclamar nada. Ya, pero es que antes cobraba todo el mundo menos yo. Digo, bueno, pues haberlo reclamado usted antes, no ahora. Él me amenazó con que nos iba a denunciar, desapareció, al poco tiempo me mandó un burofax su abogado reclamando la misma línea, yo no ni la atendimos y punto, desapareció. Pero es verdad que este era el hombre fuerte de Sánchez Arminio.
Luis Rubiales ha dicho que Negreira no tenía ningún tipo de influencia en la federación, que...
Todo el que conoce la federación, y sobre todo en aquella época, sabe que solamente asomar Negreira o llamar a un árbitro por teléfono en una designación o que fuera, los árbitros se ponían firmes. Porque en aquella época, hoy es diferente, sobre todo desde que llegó Velasco, que afortunadamente cambió todo eso. En aquella época, aquello era una dictadura feroz. Y el que no hacía caso a Sánchez Arminio, el que no le bailaba el agua, el que no intentaba mantener las distancias o las formas, pues era condenado a no ascender, a descender, a todos los castigos que se le ocurrían. Por tanto, el simple hecho de que Negreira llamara a un árbitro y dijera, oye, el domingo el Barcelona, tened cuidado, que no podemos tener un escándalo con el Barça, que el Barça es un equipo muy importante, a ver cómo lo hacéis. Eso condicionaba al árbitro.
How the was that a penalty? Can you please tell me how this is the conversation between the referee and the VAR official? The ref says, I need more images, I need to see it better. The VAR team says, there are no images. The ref then says, okay, it's a penalty, I'll give it. I'm sorry, pardon me? What do you mean there are no images? The whole point of having VAR is to have video, review, and images ready to present to the on-field referee so that they can decipher properly and accurately the moment at hand. But you're gonna tell me that there are no images ready? How? Please, then pick a moment that actually warrants a penalty, because this one between Tchouaméni and Lino wasn't it. Ow! I don't know what was said, but you would assume a yellow card for a warning. Look at this guy's face. You're telling me he's not happy giving Bellingham a red card? Not to mention, how many penalties should Real Madrid have at this point? 1, the clearest handball I've ever seen. 2, another handball. 3, I'm no conspiracy theorist, but it seems like they just don't want Real Madrid to win. So what better way than to take off one of the best players in the world, Jude Bellingham. Now, Jude Bellingham said something completely offside. Okay, I get it, but I can't wait to see these post-match notes.